Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. We're going to talk about pros and cons to rain barrels. But first, a message from our good friends at Farmers Defense.
Farm and garden in the ultimate comfort. Farmers Defense has lightweight and durable sleeves made to protect you against the elements while farming. Farmer sleeves offer unparalleled protection of arms and skin for any farmer, gardener, or outdoor worker. Say goodbye to irritated skin and sunburns in the garden. Their sleeves offer cooling comfort and protection against the elements outdoors. An alternative to thick clothing, Farmers Defense is made of wicking material with UBF protection factor of 50 plus to protect you from allergens and scratches. To find all their great products and more, visit farmersdefense.com.
Well, rain barrels is a great way in order to utilize what nature provides when nature decides to provide the moisture from the sky. Now, disclaimer or asterisk to this conversation, based on where you're at, you may or may not be able to legally harvest rainwater that comes off your roof for your property. Your mileage may vary, and G. Gordon Liddy was a great talk show host, conservative talk show host in the 90s, and his famous line was, shoot it, shovel it, and shut up about it. So if you get away with it and don't tell anybody about it, you're probably better off. But we're going to talk about rain barrels, the pros and cons here.
Yeah, so one of the pros is it's a great way to get additional water. And I think that seems pretty obvious, but maybe people don't think about that. They think about like, yes, I want to collect rainwater, but they don't think about the convenience of it. And
right.
That you can use a lot of creative ways to get water. And there's also, if you're like, I just don't like the look of a rain barrel, there's options.
There's many options. It's not just a blue or white barrel that you shove in the corner of your home or outside of your home to capture the rain off the gutter. There are very aesthetic, pleasing types of rain barrels that if you didn't know, you would never guess it was a rain barrel. Those do come with a cost, but if you're interested in hiding it or disguising it in a way that people or you don't want to notice it, that can be done.
Absolutely. So there's even like kind of, I guess maybe more of like I think a cistern is more.
Cistern is something that goes under the house, kind of in a basement where you pump the rain goes down through the gutter system, collects in an indoor area in the basement, and then it's pumped and utilized for multiple uses. Right, this is a very old style way of water collection.
I think our place here has a cistern or something. I don't know. There's that water hole in the basement.
That was where coal for the furnace was.
All right. So anyway, not a cistern. But
now that we get done with our family meeting on the air.
There are like terracotta style rain barrels. There's some like clay. You can find a lot of different options. Or you could even, if you're like, this rain barrel is plain, you could paint it yourself.
Yeah. Rain barrels are utilized in some aspects in community gardens in ways of capturing the rain. Now, one of the concerns that people may have in a rain barrel is if it is transparent in color, such as white, algae can develop. Algae, it can be harmful to plants and stunt their growth in large quantities of algae. If you just got a little algae here or there, it's not going to hurt the plants as if you're just, gushing algae water, just the slime out of it. The algae water absorbs the nutrients meant for the plants. So you would have to kind of be aware of that. There are ways in which to control it. Some people will put an aeration system in their opaque or transparent rain barrel and put certain type of fish that will eat the algae, but you got to have an aeration in order to keep them alive. You can also, mosquitoes is a concern, so you want to make sure you keep all areas that are opened to like a downspout where it goes in, screen that off so the mosquito larvae cannot develop in there. And if done correctly, you're going to have no problems with it whatsoever. But rain barrels can be, you're looking at 20, 50, 55 gallon or larger.
Right. And that's kind of going into, so talking about the algae is that the water isn't clean enough for drinking.
Yeah, it's not palatable. That's palatable.
Potable.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So
word of the day.
Now, not saying that you couldn't take that water and put it through like a filter of some sort or like a cleaner to turn into drinking water. But
the proper filtration can turn any water into drinking water.
But if you do want to collect rainwater for drinking water, there might be a better way or a more efficient way to do so.
If you're using it for animal hydration, this is not a concern. Animals are going to be able to drink it just fine. It's where the human aspect comes in.
Yeah, you don't want to give yourself some sort of sickness.
Yes.
So another pro is they're great for watering the garden. Even with that algae, the algae is just basically fertilizer.
In small quantities.
In small quantities, yes.
And the people there, if you go online and type in your search engine, water collection systems, there are some very elaborate ones that are multi-unit where it fills 8, 9, 10 barrels, and they have a pump system on it to where they can pump the water out into other areas. Some will have, what is it called, the big totes. They're like 275-gallon totes with a metal frame around it. I forget what they're called, but those people would use those as well to collect water. IBC totes, IBP, something like that, totes. But any type of barrel, if you're not buying one at a store that's designated for water capturing, and you're getting it secondhand, you want to be very aware of what was in that barrel prior to you using it. Even if you're not going to use it for drinking or watering animals, if it was used to carry motor oil or bleach or something, you don't want that to be leaching back in the water and you're watering plants with any type of that. You want to make sure whatever it was food safe and materials.
Absolutely. And I did want to mention, if you're trying to figure out where to get rain barrels from,
yes,
you can often find them with your local municipality. You can give them a call and see if they know where to find them. It's a lot of times it's like your waste, your metropolitan waste and
City Hall would probably be a good start.
Yep, absolutely. Or local organic stores. They might be able to point you in the right direction.
Community garden head person of community garden.
Right. So talking about community garden, if you are relying on rain barrel, the only way to water your garden, and say you do have a community garden, that could be a problem if you're in a dry season or a drought. So you may not have enough water. You may have to incorporate, whether you bring your own water in, or if you were in a community garden situation, figuring out as a community how to get more water. So that's one thing that's a major con. And I've heard about this from people who community garden.
The lack of available water.
Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind. And I remember, I think we were at a talk, one person telling us something about how they had to bring in basically their own water that year.
At a community garden.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem, because with the community garden, there are, hey, we've got this field here. Everybody's got your little plot of land. Great. But here's some issues we've got here. You can plant anything you want above this, below this height, and don't bother this person and do this and all that. But we don't have the water. Now, I refer back to allotments over in the UK. There is multiple watering faucets in which people can, it's a communal thing. You go up and you fill your water cans up and you go water, and it's kind of a package deal. But with community gardens here in the United States, there is only so much water faucets available, and some people will take advantage of the situation and let it run and hog all the water so nobody else can have access to it.
Right. And that's the
Those
thing.
people are called jerks.
And I would like to think that if you're participating in a community garden, you do want to give, a fair chance to the community, but there are just jerks everywhere, unfortunately. We're not going to focus on jerky people, but it can be a con if that is your water, way to get water.
If you have issues with water, what do? We add mulch.
Right, and that's a good point. Is adding the mulch can help keep the soil.
It's not going to fix, but it's going to greatly reduce the amount of moisture that is needed, and that may allow you to stretch to the next time it rains.
Right, and I just wanted to plug Tree Diaper here.
Tree Diaper.
Because that is a way to water without having to have water.
Right. Naturally absorbs the water when it rains or you water it, and releases it as the soil needs it over 30 days.
You can use code GARDEN15 to save 15% at checkout at treediaper.com.
All coupon codes you hear on the program, if you can't capture them because you're in the car or you just can't write it down, our parent website, the Wisconsin vegetablegardener.com. Under the Money tab at the top of the page is where you're going to find all the coupon codes.
Absolutely. So then another big pro to if when you're using a rain barrel
Yes.
is it's going to save you money on water if it's if it's a nice not drought year, and the way things have been changing, you never know, but it will save you water and save you money on water. And that is definitely a bonus, I think, for a lot of people.
And you can make your own rain barrel by using a very large trash can and doing some DIY stuff. It's very easy to do. Multiple applications are shown online. You do want to drain it at the end of the season because if you're in an area where freezing will happen, it will damage and break the barrel in most instances, and then you got a mess to deal with. You got a barrel that doesn't hold water.
I want to mention one more, I guess kind of a con is that you have to have a place to store it.
Yes.
Now you could essentially leave it outside.
Well, you could drain it, flip it upside down, and walk away. There's nothing wrong with that.
You could. You might want to secure it a little bit if you live in a high wind area because it could travel with the wind. Another con would be is if you have any sort of if you rent and maybe your landlord doesn't mind that you have a garden, but they're like, no, I don't want you cutting part of the gutter for a rain barrel. That could be a problem too. So with
any rain barrel application, you are going to have it elevated to a certain degree in order to get a hose or a watering can underneath it to allow the water to go, especially a water can. But if you're going to water with it, when it's at capacity, the elevation is needed for the gravity flow so you can get the water 5 or 10, 15 feet away. If it's at ground level, there's not going to be much unless you adapt it to using a pump, and then that's potential electricity, or if you bring a power station, it's a whole other thing. So elevation of it is also the key. So there are some wonderful things in regards to using a rain barrel. There are also some things you want to keep in mind, and always, regardless of what advice we give you, take that and do your own research so you know what works best in your area. Well, now that the weather has warmed up, Holly, you will want to protect your garden with from those various beetles, weevils, borers, including those Japanese beetles.
And what better way to prevent these pests from destroying your garden than by controlling them while they are larvae? Grub Gone is an easy to apply granular product that can spread on your turf to successfully control grub invaders. Developed by Phylum Bioproducts from a naturally occurring bacteria, Grub Gone is a non-chemical BT product that specifically targets only certain scarab pests, and it's safe to use around bees and other beneficial insects.
Or the beetles are already flying around. If you have the beetles already flying around your yard, Beetle Gone is the organic water dispersible powder that can be sprayed directly on your edible plants. Find out more at phyllumbioproducts.com. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.